Let's see. All right, some folks are already continuing to join us, which is exciting. And once again, I'll share, if you have any questions throughout, feel free to pop it into that Q&A section, and I'll ask the panelists as we go, and we'll go from there. So we'll start here in 1 minute. All right, I see some other folks hopping on. Hello, everyone. Welcome. All right, so as we're getting some participants in here, I'll be recording this session as well. So if anyone hops on late, we can kind of show this to them later on as well. So we'll also be sharing it after as well. So I'll just dive in for right now. So hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Amber Faveras, and I am the Investor Relations Manager here at Honeycomb Credit. I'm joined by Kathy Hale, the owner of Can I Have a Bite over in Kansas City, and Anthony Williams, who is a part of Equity Squared. So let's dive in. So really what we'll do is kind of do some intros. I'll let you know kind of what Honeycomb Credit is. We'll talk through you can hear a little bit from Anthony, we'll hear a little bit from Kathy, and then the three of us will chat together. I'll have some questions that people have pre-submitted in already. And then if you have questions as we go, I'll ask those of the panelists as well. As I had mentioned, you can feel free to write in the Q&A at any time. Feel free to throw in any questions or thoughts you have. I'm happy to share them with Kathy and Dave too, even if it's just a quick hello. So let's dive in. So what is Honeycomb? So Honeycomb is a first of its kind platform that connects business owners to capital in a really interesting out of the box way. And that's through their friends, fans, and customers in the community. So business owners can come onto our platform and have an offering, and regular people can invest into their business, which is a very cool thing. We're based in Pittsburgh, but we have been going national. Currently, we're in over 30 different states, including Kansas and Missouri, which is awesome. So this is really what we call like a new way to rewrite the rule book of funding for small businesses. It's a really cool way to be able to get the capital you need to grow your business, and also have regular people invest in the businesses they love, and really watch the small business ecosystem grow, which is a really cool thing. So right now we started in 2017. We've had over 200 plus offerings. $15 million has been invested in local businesses across the country, including in Kansas City as well. And it's not just the funding part that we think about. By being on Honeycomb, your business continues to grow. We've seen 60% revenue increase year over year after people have done an offering, increase in news mentions, Yelp and Google reviews. So it's really a holistic way to really grow your community, really grow your local business ecosystem, and do it with your friends, family, customers, and fans, which is a really cool thing. And someone that we have here that you'll probably rather hear talk than me is the amazing Anthony Williams. He is the managing director of Equity Squared, as well as the market president at OutCap. And he knows his background more than I do. So Anthony, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, Amber. And thank you for having me on the broadcast today. Anthony Williams, managing director of Equity Squared. We do a couple of things. We're an impact investment fund. And one of the things that we want to do is we want to be an aggregator of community-minded capital, but also we want to create opportunities for us to co-invest with the community. And so that's on one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is I am market president for OutCap in OutCap, Texas. And OutCap is a CDFI. And one of the things that we try to do is make sure the capital is available for microloans and small business loans in lower to moderate income communities, as well as areas such as Kansas City. We're expanding now to Denver. We're in Houston. We're in LA. And we're also expanding into Omaha. So debt and equity is really my experience and background. Happy to be here and share a little bit more about our partnership and our investment with Honeycomb. So thank you, Amber.
Thank you, Anthony. I guess my first question is really, can you tell us a little bit more about Equity Squared specifically and your mission to support local businesses?
Absolutely. So Equity Squared, we are an impact investment firm. Our typical investment is anywhere from $50,000 to up to $250,000. Our focus area has been the Kansas City area, We're looking to expand that to a broader territory, one, because of relationships such as Honeycomb and other relationships that have a strong interest in impact investing. We also have an opportunity zone fund. So we sit on both sides of the house. We sit on, or both sides of the community. We sit on the investment side for operating businesses, and then we sit on the development side for residential and commercial development with an opportunity zone fund that we have as well too. And so Equity Squared started kind of had the brain trust of AltCap and the Community Capital Fund based in Kansas City. And we wanted to find a creative way to deploy capital back out that wasn't loan capital and it wasn't grant capital. We wanted to position ourselves to truly make investments back into the community.
That's really amazing. And how would you describe kind of how your partnership with Honeycomb fits into Equity Squared's overall strategy for investing?
Man, that is it was imperative. Let me just say that as we were sitting around about a year or so ago, we were looking for ways for us to shape kind of our new investment thesis. And we were looking at technology platforms that could do two things. One, that we could invest in and extend our brand and our reach, but also provide an opportunity and a platform for the community to co-invest with us. And I think what Honeycomb has done was allowed us to do that. We looked at a couple other platforms, a couple other tech companies. But what we really liked and what stood out is Honeycomb was the only platform that we looked at or solution that we looked at that truly brought businesses and communities at an intersection where they both could grow and they also could take on and participate in community ownership. And you all haven't disappointed at all thus far. So we're very excited about what we can do and what we continue to do in Kansas City and beyond.
That's wonderful. And I'll quickly go to the next slide to kind of just showcase everything that's happened so far with Equity Squared and your partnership with us. And if you kind of want to talk through a little bit kind of what this slide means to the broader community here.
It means a beginning of something that we feel like is unique in Kansas City, making the investment into participating in funding loans for businesses throughout the greater Kansas and Missouri area. I think it's huge. A lot of times capital is not accessible, but not only capital, is the opportunity to generate income and raise an awareness about the business. There are a lot of great businesses, small businesses in the Kansas City area and beyond that just don't get the notoriety. You may not see them in the Business Journal, you may not see them in Pitch or other small business publications, but you can access them at your fingertips. And I think it's been very instrumental, and Kathy can probably speak better to that, but we were excited to make the initial investment into Can I Have a Bite, reading a story and even having some form of a connection. I don't know if Kathy's aware, but one of our team members at Equity Squared went to school with one of your children, I believe. And so we can talk about that later, but yeah. But yeah, I think we were excited to make the investment and extend the Honeycomb reach, but also expand the Equity Squared reach, because it's what we should be doing. Capital and equity should be finding ways to communities as opposed to coming and pitching directly to impact funds or equity funds as well. We should be going to the communities and finding ways to get creative and make investment. So it's huge.
That's very, very cool. Yes, definitely. I think that's huge for Kansas City, and as we continue to grow, it's huge for our Honeycomb network as well. So I just want to say thank you again, Anthony, for all that you and Equity Squared do, for sure.
Absolutely.
One of my last questions for you before we kind of tie everything together with Kathy too, is what advice would you give to someone who's considering investing in local businesses through Honeycomb?
Just do it. I mean, the beautiful thing about Honeycomb, and I'll just be very candid, it allows you to invest in the community, and it's not as risky as people would think. And so, but it also allows you to support businesses. And not only are you investing in it, but you're rallying around to support a business, the community, to drive revenue, to drive publicity, and drive opportunities for those businesses to grow beyond just writing a check. I grew up in a neighborhood in Kansas City where we supported businesses by going to them or by lending money or investing into them. But how those businesses were sustainable was we continued to support those small businesses. And I think the pandemic should have taught us one thing, if nothing else, that we need to rally behind our small businesses, because some of the larger businesses may not be true supporters of what we do and how we do it in those diverse markets, in such as Kansas City.
Thank you, Anthony. That's amazing. I wanted to share this too, just quickly, of
Mhm.
of women and minority businesses in Kansas City and Missouri. And if you want to kind of talk through, we have some business owners in the audience here today, of kind of what this partnership means kind of holistically here.
Oh man, it means everything. It's our why. When we think about what Equity Squared and what our part of our investment thesis is, it's really based around not only deploying capital into lower to moderate income communities, but they're in Black and brown and women-owned businesses across the region that may get overlooked. And let's be candid, most banks don't lend money below $250,000. They definitely don't look at those opportunities below $50,000, which is part of the reason why alt cap exists, as well too. CDFIs exists is to deploy that capital. But that's everything. That slide means everything to us, and it's very integral part of our why. You think about it, $10,000 may not seem like a lot, but it could be life changing. It could buy a piece of equipment. It could hire a staff member. It could be a backstop for a contract that a small business has that they need to fulfill orders for. It could change someone's life in a very simple and simplistic, but also impactful way.
Thank you so much, Anthony. And I think that's a great segue of someone who benefited from a $10,000 investment. Kathy Hale, she is the owner and operator of Can I Have a Bite? So again, Kathy, you know yourself better than I do. If you don't mind kind of sharing a little bit about yourself and how you got here today.
Hi, I'm loving seeing the pictures that have been chosen. um, I'm just going to throw out to another small business that I'm wearing something that is a sustainable jumpsuit from Girlfriend Collective. And that's why I posted that picture, because Can I Have a Bite was all about sustainability and the environment as much as meal prep. So
Love that.
I was like, there it is, Girlfriend Collective. So I originally, I should say, Can I Have a Bite stemmed from my Pilates clients. So I taught Pilates for a long time. It has become just my personal practice at this point, although who knows. But I had Pilates clients with food sensitivities. And so I began with education. We would do grocery store tours. I would talk to them about, ideas they could do at home, but it was all problematic. So I just kept developing the education, teaching them how to make some vegetables, cooking classes. And it finally turned into, yeah, it's hard. And it was challenging to do the cooking yourself. And so I started with a handful of clients, grew the business with microloans and really the tiniest little kitchen you can imagine. And it just grew and grew and grew until it was where I was. Actually, it was, I should go to COVID for a second, because from day one, I had revenue increased. My revenue increased until COVID. And then COVID was like, I wanted to reference back to, it's just been hard on, I think, just all kinds of businesses. It's been really hard on the food industry for sure.
Sure.
I just, for the first time ever, just plummeted. I lost like half my revenue, and it was hard to get it back up. And so watching also the revenue increases from the loan, we were able to increase our revenue. The numbers were almost identical that I saw with what you had on here. I was like, oh my gosh, we had so much more exposure. We had our revenue increase right about 60%, just a little over. And so It was just interesting to see how accurate that was. But it became an ongoing meal prep, and COVID was hard. And being approached by Honeycomb, it was just in general to support small business. I don't know the impact it's had on all the industries, but it made all the difference to be able to get money, because for a lot of small businesses, microloans for me in the beginning were like $500, and then it was like 1,000, and stuff like that. So to grow up to 10,000 was growing into a space outside of a tiny kitchen and things like that. But that little bit of money can make all the difference in the world with a small business. And so, it was, and during COVID and the 2 years that followed, 2021 was even harder. It was hard to get any kind of funding at all.
Right.
You have little tiny bits that sort of kind of help you that maybe you can get, but it's just kind of inching forward. So it made a huge difference to have that help to hire a staff, and do all the things that really just took some of the burden off.
That's wonderful. And you kind of answered, I was going to say, you kind of answered.
I kind of answered a bunch of that.
Which I love. But I guess like, if you could describe like any like specific challenges you might have faced in securing funding before Honeycomb. You mentioned like trying to get microloans. Yeah. But any kind of like challenges or issues that you faced when you tried to get funding before?
So primarily funding, in my experience, is you have to have enough revenue to warrant funding. But if you're small, it's hard to get, the revenue. So I never had startup capital ever.
Wow.
I'll just say it's ingenuity, I guess. So I just kept inching forward and growing it, and that, and I'd have enough. So my first little micro loan was through Square, because Square would they could see your revenue. And then I grew out of that into, getting loans based on 3 months of revenue and stuff like that. But with a lending, oh my God, I'm sorry. I wasn't prepared for all this. So I'm just going to say, those are my grandkids. The two top, I have two in their 20s, and then two little ones. Those are my two oldest daughters.
And your daughter is correct?
I know where you're getting all these from. It's my Instagram. And that was in LA. I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, so getting the funding is challenging. And then when we had, as I grew, I was able to have more. And then as with the impact of COVID, I just didn't have anything that would warrant getting any money. I could get, once again, maybe $2,000. I mean, it was just because everybody was looking at it as, this is a shaky situation. So it made all the difference.
That's awesome. And one thing I wanted to ask as I went onto your offering page here, could you walk us through what your experience was like launching an offering, during it, and then kind of what happened after?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of it was educational, but also a fun experience. So I can't remember. There's a questionnaire we had to answer. That I don't remember how it was titled, but I said it was like writing a small business plan. And I am really fortunate in that my youngest daughter, who's not in this photo, she's in that one right there. She really helped me refine and write. We're both writers, but she really helped me write the business plan. And so it was actually really helpful for us to go through and look at everything from that perspective too. So that was helpful. And then, I don't know, it was good. I was, Honeycomb just helped us along every step of the way. It really did. It's like, okay, you finished that. Now let's go to this. And okay, then we're going to do this and we're going to do that. So they were right there with us every step of the way.
That's awesome. That's really great to hear. And I think you also talked about it a little bit too, but any of the unexpected benefits or opportunities that came your way since launching your offering? You mentioned some revenue increases, but anything else that you wanted to share too?
It was just nice, honestly. In 2023, my daughter and I kept saying it feels finally like we're past COVID. I don't know how to explain that in any other way, but we had just ongoing, we just had so much more traffic so Can I Have a Bite is meal prep and quick service. And so the meal prep tends to be very large orders, and people order online. Usually they don't have to, but they would order online and they would just come and pick them up and leave. So they just kind of come and go. So we don't have, they don't sit and eat typically. And then we had quick service, which was people dining in. And so because it's meal prep, a lot of times people would judge the business by no one's here, because they would come and pick up, $100 worth of food and leave. And then someone else would come pick up $100 of food, but the quick service is how people tend to see, they want to see seats and chairs, And so really we just started having all this quick service. That was, I thought, I just kept saying, I can't figure out, because my daughter and I hadn't had much time to do a lot of marketing at all.
Mm.
We just were busy constantly. And so I said, what do you think is happening? And we just realized, oh, okay, it's the exposure. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Do you feel, so you're saying you kind of feel like this offering helped you in the marketing aspect too?
Um, it helped by marketing that we didn't have to do because we were, I can see the Instagram photos and things like that, but it just a lot of production is very time consuming. And so we had lots of marketing plans that we just did not launch as we planned, so our marketing, we both felt like needed to be amped up, but the customers were coming before we got there, because our funding came like really, we'll say 1st of December, because it was around Thanksgiving and all that. And December in meal prep is typically a very slow month. It's opposite of restaurants. And so it was starting in 2023, we could just see it. It just kept growing. It was like really just almost from January, from the first day we opened,
Very cool.
and so that's why we were like, wait, what's happened? And then I thought, oh, it's all the exposure. It's just the exposure of Honeycomb.
That's wonderful. We just got a question in from the audience that I wanted to ask you right now as well. So really thinking about like who your investors were. So this person was asking, did your investors mostly come from people you know, or were there some people that you were surprised that had invested?
I didn't know very many of them at all. I should say, I did not appear to know them. There was one investor who I thought, well, I know the last name, but it actually was, he uses a different first name on investment. So
very cool.
There might have been some like that too.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you both for introducing yourself and kind of talking through. Now I'm going to really open up questions from the audience. Again, I have a couple more here that folks had asked along the way, but if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A now, and I'll make sure to ask them of Kathy and Anthony. So just got a question right now, that's a good one, of why is Honeycomb focused on Kansas City? I can kind of start, and then Anthony, if you want to finish up too. I would say we're really excited about kind of just the entrepreneurial spirit that is in Kansas City. There's so much excitement happening there. As I mentioned, we kind of work nationally. And so we really like to focus on really core markets that we see are really growing and really just have really strong community. And Kansas City is a really big one for us that we have seen across the board, of just a really big people rallying around the businesses, people loving and seeing them as kind of like a community hub. So that's something that Honeycomb is really excited about. And then I think also our partnership with Equity Squared makes us really excited too, so that we can get businesses more access to capital. So that's what I would say. Anthony, I don't know if you have anything to add there too.
Absolutely. I think it's easy. I think it's easy it's an easy question to ask, and it's an easy question to answer. I think when you look at Kansas City has a history of being entrepreneurial and small business focused. When you look at the Crossroads area, when you look at other areas across the city, there's a wealth of small businesses that are undercapitalized. You heard Kathy say a micro loan or a small business loan to her was $500 to $1,000, and she moved up to $10,000. Think about the number of businesses that are out there that are like Kathy, and we see them on a weekly basis, whether that's on the all cap side or in my previous life working in the small business sector. There are a lot of banks in Kansas City, but there are not a lot of true small business focused banks in the region. And so what we wanted to do was, as the city grew, and Kansas City has grown in its entrepreneurial marketing, its entrepreneurial interest, and we wanted to be able to sit on both sides of the table. We wanted to say, hey, the community, here's a creative way that you can invest in businesses, but also here's how you could promote your business and allow capital to come into your business. So a lot of businesses, when you look at it, Kansas City was in like the top 10 of most entrepreneurial cities. But I guarantee you, if you ask some of the businesses, capital has been a challenge. Access to capital has been a challenge, and we wanted to provide a creative way to access capital. And why Kansas City? Why not Kansas City? I would ask is, when we look at the city, it's a great city to be a part of. There's a lot of small businesses, and there's a lot of reasons for why. But we wanted to bring a technology platform from an Equity Square perspective that could deploy capital, but also to get the community to rally behind it. So you got businesses and you got entrepreneurs that some of them are looking for ways to invest. So you have angel investors and you have investors that are interested in investing in businesses. Why not Kansas City? Let's go. Let's rally behind this Kansas City and go forward.
That's wonderful. Another question we just got, I think I'll be the one, I guess, to answer this one. How does Honeycomb select the businesses that are eligible for funding? Which is a really great question because we work with businesses in the startup phase all the way up to 20 plus years of operating history. So we work with businesses from any phase that someone is in the business plan or process. And so we have what we call a credit analysis team that really looks through an application holistically. So obviously we look at financials, but we're also looking at like things like your Instagram following. Do you have a big community? Are there people really rallying around you? Like what are your revenue looking like? What are your Yelp and Google reviews looking like? And we kind of look at everything kind of holistically because we really want to be able to give businesses access to capital. So we do have like a vetting process that we do, but we really try to look at a business, not just at the holistic like credit score numbers, but also kind of across the board too. So that's kind of how we look at who's eligible for funding. That was a great question. Anthony, we have another one from you. Anthony, what was your experience been like working with Honeycomb?
It's been, you know what it's been, I'd say delightful is the first word, because when you partner with organizations, sometimes they like to take the lead and you kind of follow their guidance, but it's been a true partnership from day one. I like to think about me coming out and meeting the team. I like to think about how Pilson and I kind of built and rallied around, hey, here's the why, what we wanted to do with in the Kansas City area and beyond. So I think what you would find, and I don't know who asked the question, but if you're interested in investing and working with Honeycomb, they really do take a hands-on approach. They're very forthright, high integrity people, which was critical for us because when we look at making investments, there's four values that we look at: respect, trust, integrity, and accountability. And they displayed all of those things. We've had a very respectful relationship. We've had a high integrity relationship. We've been able to keep each other accountable. And I think Honeycomb has done a great job of keeping us accountable to kind of what we said our why was. And then working together. It's been very collaborative as well too. So there hasn't been a question that I didn't get an answer to. There hasn't been a person or a resource that we needed to have available to us on the Honeycomb side. And I'd like to think that we've done the same, but they've been very collaborative, very focused, and very committed. And that's how I would summarize the relationship that we've had thus far.
Thanks, Anthony. And I'll say that you're a pleasure to work with as well. We're excited when we get to kind of be like on the ground in these communities and helping people that way. So very, very excited to have you as a partner for sure.
Likewise.
Another question that, Kathy, I'll have you answer a little bit too, of what types of projects do businesses typically use Honeycomb for? Kathy, do you want to share kind of what you used your funds for? And then I'll talk about kind of businesses at large too.
We used it to hire. That was our, and we had some additional signage and marketing that we're using it for too.
Nice.
But we haven't done it yet. But we used it to hire because that was my biggest need, was having just more staff. So it was that was just everything. You
That's
can't
awesome.
make, you can only produce so much with so much help, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Staffing is a big one for a lot of folks on the platform. But there's just truly a ton of different ways and projects that people use the funds for, from things as simple as refinancing a really high interest debt that you might have, all the way up to big projects like opening up a brick and mortar, buying a food truck, all kinds of different things. Staffing's a big one, buying inventory, another big one of just sometimes you really just need that initial capital to get started. And then, as I've said, we've seen across the board like 60% increase in revenue year over year, increase in customers. We also kind of say sometimes investors are almost like built-in customers for you, because now they're people that are really excited about your business, really excited about your growth. And there's a good chance they're probably going to help you with that too. So I think that that's a really cool thing too. I'm getting a lot of questions about how do I apply? which is a great question. So if you visit our website, honeycombcredit.com, you'll see that there's a section that's called business owners. If you click on that, there's a form on that page. There's some really great info there. And so we'll definitely get you connected to somebody from the Honeycomb team, talk to you about it, and then send over an application, which is really, really easy to do. We usually get loan terms to you within 24 hours of you submitting that application. So we try to move fast. We want to get you the funding that you need as quickly as possible. So that's what I would say about how do you apply and how you can run a campaign. Another question that is also for Kathy is related to your offering. Were you nervous about launching your offering? And did you have any help along the way?
Help what? Nervous about launching the offering? No, I don't know. As far as asking people, I guess, to fund, I know, because I believe in small business, and I think if someone believes in small business, they'll get behind it. So I really like the idea of private investors helping a small business go forward. What was the other part?
Did you have any help along the way with
Help.
I think it's with your offering?
With the offer, like putting it together? I'm trying to figure out what
I
help
think
they
that's
mean.
what they mean.
Okay. I
Let me see if they
kind of did. Right before Honeycomb approached me, I had been working on, I will fully admit, I was a dance major. I'm very creative. I'd use an Apple, I use a Mac, so I know numbers, but I use that, but I am not good at Excel. I'll just throw that out there. So I have a close friend who had actually just helped me put together like projections and spreadsheets, because I was working on that beforehand.
Oh, very nice.
And so that was convenient that had already been done, because that was something I needed to have a little bit better format than I do formats that I understand.
Totally fair. Yeah. And one thing I'll share too, that I think maybe they were talking about too, is
it's not being loud. I'm gonna close my door.
Oh no, you're all good.
Okay.
Is that oh great.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're all good. One thing I would share
noise.
too is when you come on with Honeycomb, we also pair you with a customer experience manager to kind of help you along the way, help build that page for you. So that's kind of like your right hand person as you go through. So I'll say that too. Oh, here's another question. What are some of the most exciting projects that have been funded through Honeycomb so far? Oh, that's a great question. I personally love food and beverage, though we work with all different kinds of industries, but I get really excited when there's like a new restaurant, a new coffee shop, or one that's been there for a long time that's like really growing or doing something really cool. One of my favorites was in Pittsburgh, which is where I live. Square Cafe was a restaurant that was in one neighborhood, but they were really, really growing and they wanted to move into a brand new space. So they were able to raise $250,000 from community investors on Honeycomb to move into a new space. And the new space is a lot closer to my home. So I get to go there all the time now, which is really nice. And it's been great to kind of see them growing. And now I get to take advantage even more of my favorite restaurant. But that's one that was exciting to me personally. But there have been a lot of exciting projects for sure. From different startups to businesses that have been in the community for a long time, which is really exciting. Another question, this one's for Anthony. Anthony, what do you see as the future of your partnership with Honeycomb?
I think it's interesting because we've had some conversation, put some thought around this. I think we'd like to expand with Honeycomb. I think what we want to do is continue to deploy capital in a manner that, like I said earlier, allows the community co-invest with us as an impact investment fund. And so I'd like to figure out what areas we can go and raise capital and make investments into and with Honeycomb. I also look at it and say, how can we help in areas that we invest in to activate the community? I think that's the next phase of our partnership, is beyond just an investment. How can we truly activate a community, not only of small businesses, but small business investors? And so the more we can do to drive attention to small businesses and small business investments, I think that's the next step. I mean, we think about Kansas City, there's a lot of areas in both states, Kansas and Missouri. We could look at Wichita, we could look at St. Louis, and we can look at beyond. But our objective is really figure out how we can activate communities, activate community-minded investors, and grow with Honeycomb in what I would say a very logical path. And that's a two-sided equation. They may, wherever they want to take us, we'll be open to listening as well too.
Exciting. That's very exciting. Another question for you. What do you recommend to people trying to get into impact investing?
Oh, me, or is that for you all?
They asked you directly, but I can share some stuff too. But
No,
what would you recommend?
I'll take it. What I would recommend is first and foremost, you have to define impact, and define an area where you want to have impact. What we've discovered is impact means different things to different people. And so when we really started talking about what our thesis was, it was a lot of people thought it was a different spin on investments. We looked at what would I consider small dollar investments. And what we looked at was community focused. Then we looked at demographic focused. And a lot of times that's not really viewed as impact. They may look at impact as investing in green energy or investing in other areas that was not really this type of investing. And so for me, I would say find out what you determine as impact, focus on those areas, and then look across the region and say, can I make an impact in the area that you live in first, or area that you have passion, and then expand that out to industries and business types. And then I would just say collaborate, and because you can't have impact just with one or two people. You have to have partners and people to help you grow and to expand that mission. So for us, what I would recommend is determine your why, determine areas that you want to invest in, consider the investment amount, and then be able to find collaborative people that you can work with to build a pipeline and help present opportunities, and then go after it. I mean, that's what we looked at. We saw a gap in the community. We went through and redefined who we were and what we want to do. And then we look for people to collaborate with, because you can't just do it. You can't there's no such thing as a 5-run home run. You got to have people in scoring position and people that you want to play with to go out and try and score points. So
right, that's a great question. Great answer to that question too. Thank you, Anthony. A question that we just got was, does Honeycomb have a section for minority-owned businesses? Yes. We work with a lot of minority-owned businesses. A statistic I have off the top of my head is 64% of the offerings that we've have been women-owned specifically, and then we've worked with a lot of minority-owned communities as well. So you're very much encouraged to apply if you work for minority-owned businesses. I think it's great. It's great for Equity Squared as well, because you could be eligible for that $10,000 investment. So I encourage you to, if you're minority-owned, to talk to Honeycomb for sure. Someone also just asked, what if you're starting your business but haven't opened yet? Can I still work with Honeycomb? Yes to that as well. We've worked with a lot of startup businesses. One thing you'll need is a lot of projections and a really solid business plan of what you're looking to do. And then proof that you've got some community support as well. Because there are a lot of new businesses that have come onto the platform. They've done really well. They've opened and they've really soared. So I also recommend that if you haven't opened a business yet, but you have a really solid business idea, maybe you even have a location. If you're looking at a brick and mortar kind of location, you already have a place you've scoped out. All of those are really great and can really help you on your application. So I recommend applying even if your business hasn't opened yet. I'll see if any other questions come through. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you to both of you, Kathy and Anthony. Both really amazing people, really important in the Kansas City community. So thank you both for all you do. Small business really is the backbone of this nation and of our economy. So I'm personally really passionate about small businesses, and I'm really passionate about impact investing as well. I think the combination of both of what you do is really exciting. So any final thoughts from either of you that you'd like to share with the group?
I feel like I've talked enough. Kathy, feel free to start.
I just want to say thank you. It's been a great experience, and thank you for asking me to participate.
And I'll echo the same thing. Thank you, Amber, and thank you, Honeycomb team, for inviting me to participate in this opportunity. I think we need to do more of it. But what I would encourage the people that are on the call today that are from Kansas City, we got some work to do, but let's go find some creative ways to do it. And let's go have fun supporting small businesses. Feel free to reach out to me. My email is anthony@e2investing.com. If there's any other questions that may come up, feel free. I mean, because we enjoy what we do and we believe that there's more impact to be made in the Kansas City area and beyond.
Absolutely. And someone just asked, how can we help spread the word in Kansas City? KC loves small businesses. Tell everybody. That would be what I say. Any advice from you two?
Support small businesses, and yes, and tell others about them. Just spread the word, spread the word, spread the word.
I would say,
Well, thank you. Oh, go ahead, Anthony.
I would say let's keep doing more of these and figure out what's the proper conduits. I know for us, we're gonna probably roll out some social media in the next coming weeks to make sure that we do our part. But yeah, get out and support. Kathy said, get out and support the businesses, get out and support Honeycomb, and figure out ways that we can help this part of the entrepreneurial community grow in Kansas City.
Well, thank you both so much. Thank you all for joining us today. If you have any questions, I put Anthony's email in the chat. You can also email me as well, amber@honeycombcredit.com, or just hello@honeycombcredit.com, and someone will get back to you as quickly as we can. So thank you all so much for coming. If you have any questions for our panelists, again, feel free to reach out. And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.